You know, I go back and forth on whether or not I think Charlie is a moron or a liar. And, you know, it's probably a combination of both. And don't get me wrong, Charlie is a skilled speaker, but sometimes he says the dumbest shit. And in this conversation with a college student, because he only likes to debate college students, it seems like, they dive into several different topics, most of which Charlie just lies about. And so that's what I want to talk about in today's video.
You could even talk.
So, let's talk about the 200 people deported without due process to El Salvador. I don't know if you saw this morning, but a United States citizen was actually deported.
It was not a U.S. citizen. That's not correct.
Liar.
It's not a U.S. citizen. It
What?
was actually...
Come on.
No, it was someone that was
Liar.
living here. Yeah, it was not a U.S. citizen.
Hey, this guy just... So you're just going to lie?
Well, first of all, it's not a U.S. citizen. He was living here for a while. He was part of MS-13. Answer yes or no.
Okay.
Okay, so Charlie isn't entirely wrong here. The guy that they're talking about is this dude from Maryland named Kilmar Garcia, okay? And he was not a U.S. citizen, but he was here legally. And he's trying to say that this guy was in MS-13 with absolute certainty, but there happens to be no evidence that he was in MS-13. In fact, this guy has never been charged with a crime and was given the right to work here by the DHS under Trump's first administration. And the White House even admits that they made an administrative error in deporting him, but still decided to call him an MS-13 gang member with absolutely no evidence.
Members of a terrorist organization be able to stay in the United States after they've murdered, raped, and gone after American citizens?
Obviously, no.
So we have deported them.
But this guy, again, was not in MS-13. At the very least, there was no evidence.
Those people back to their country.
The Fifth Amendment
That's what they've done.
calls for due
the Fifth
process.
Amendment does not apply to foreign
That's
citizens
bullshit.
that are here
It says
illegally.
Also, something that Charlie probably doesn't want to bring up is the fact that 75% of those who were, thrown into a Salvadoran gulag apparently have no criminal record. 75%. Maybe this is something they could have figured out if they were given due process, which Charlie is about to say here that non-citizens aren't allowed to have.
No. It's only to U.S. citizens.
That's a lie. He's a liar.
So, okay.
He can't debate. He just lies.
Should we be able to deport terrorists that are here in the United States?
With due process.
And we gave them due process.
What was the due process?
They were part of MS-13. It was very clear.
No,
and now they're in an El Salvadorian jail.
Yeah, so the Fifth Amendment does apply to any person in this country, right? Regardless of your immigration or citizenship status. It says right here, undocumented immigrants have the right to be informed of the charges against them, the right to an attorney, and the right to present evidence in their defense. So here, Charlie is just outright lying. And this is something that's easily verifiable, right? This isn't some arcane rule. You could look this up.
Should we be able to deport terrorists that are here in the United States?
With due process.
And we gave them due process.
What was the due process?
They were part of MS-13. It was very clear.
No,
and now they're in an El Salvadorian jail.
That literally.
Charlie's definition of due process is, you're very clearly in a gang. I don't have to prove it. And I'm just going to throw you in a prison in a different country. Where in the Constitution does it say that? If you look a certain way, I can just throw you in jail? Good one, Charlie.
But
isn't true.
Most
also,
importantly,
why wouldn't they just get deported? Why would they get sent to a jail?
Well, deported to a jail. By the way, many of these people
not in their country. They're not from El Salvador.
Many of these people were already in prisons for crimes that they committed against the United States of America. So
many, as in 75%, not having a criminal record? Where is he getting this information?
Do we have a right to decide who is in the interior of the United States?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what's your big disagreement?
It's called due process.
Again, the due process,
hold on.
if every single one of them got their own trial and their own date.
They did not get a trial.
If they got that, it would take us 10 years to deport like 200 people.
Wait. So earlier he said they got due process by just identifying them as MS-13, but then he's saying if they got real if they got real due process, it would just take too long. Justice takes too long. I don't like that. I just want to be able to throw people in jail. That is fascism, people.
So, you know what's hard? To go actually build a company like Tesla or SpaceX. And how about you say thank you for Elon Musk rescuing those astronauts that were stranded by Joe Biden? Can you say thank you, Elon Musk, for...
See, of course, Charlie is going to, trot out this talking point that Elon Musk rescued the 2 astronauts who were allegedly stranded in space. The thing is those astronauts completely contradict that story of being stranded by Joe Biden. It had mostly to do with NASA making the decision because of budget concerns and safety concerns. So that right there, again, is another lie that they keep repeating over and over, that Elon Musk is this fucking hero. But he's not. They had already planned to do to bring them back home around the time they did. So there was no grand rescue mission.
Rescuing the astronauts, can you say that?
I think Elon Musk for taking a chainsaw to the National Park Service, multiple services.
So,
aren't you an Eagle Scout?
What would you have to say?
Did you even graduate college?
No.
In fact,
I didn't go to college. I've been able to be pretty successful without a 4-year degree.
College.
Yeah, I did not go to college.
You're gonna come to college and act like you know fucking better
are
than
we
everybody.
Are we gonna debate resumes or ideas?
Ideas.
Because if we want,
it's a good idea
hold on.
to just.
All right, put a pin in that. Are they going to debate resumes or ideas? In other words, are we going to, focus on the arguments or on the person? Because Charlie makes it seem that he only focuses on the arguments, never the person.
Let's defund every major.
Do you want
program?
to debate resumes or ideas? Because if you want to argue from authority, as if you're somehow smarter than I am because you have a meaningless 4-year college degree, or do we want to say who's actually right or wrong? You're engaging in a logical fallacy when you do that.
Do you think it's meaningless to have a degree in construction engineering?
Honestly,
and be a
most college degrees are largely meaningless. Yes, most college degrees are meaningless.
Also, side note, the most popular college degrees, look this up, they're in business. It's not lesbian, dance theory. It's business degrees.
Most of you guys are being totally scammed by being here.
No.
Now, let me further complete the point.
So getting educated.
And why are they there?
Most times, first of all, it's not always an education, and you are perfect evidence.
If they actually believed in Charlie, right, and his claim that college is a scam, why would anyone be there? It doesn't even make sense.
That you haven't really been educated. You are hyper hostile. You have no humility. You have very little wisdom about how the world works, and you come and you want so badly to be recognized and noticed, you came with your own bullhorn to cut in line someone who patiently waited to ask the first question. What have you actually learned at this institution except that you're the center of the world and everyone must listen to you? In fact...
Okay, guys, remember, 30 seconds ago, Charlie was bemoaning this idea of, attacking, the person, right? Are we going to argue resumes or ideas? And then he goes on this tirade about how much of a piece of shit this guy is. I mean, the hypocrisy is palpable. There you have it, folks. Charlie Kirk yet again debating a college student and lying his ass off in the process, and also being a little bit of a hypocrite. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.